what if the secret to superhuman immunity isn't found in some multi-million-dollar lab, but is actually just buried in the dirt right before the first frost of autumn?
I mean, it sounds a bit out there.
Right.
Yeah.
But today, for you listening, we are jumping into a wildly unorthodox piece of source material for this deep dive.
Oh, it is definitely unorthodox.
Yeah, it's this highly concentrated document. It's simply titled Sweet Potatoes for Energy and Immunity. And when I say concentrated, I mean, well, it is a total departure from the endless, exhausting dietary textbooks we usually dissect for you guys.
Absolutely.
The author doesn't drown you in all those biochemical pathways or competing dietary theories. Instead, it's literally just one incredibly dense paragraph about diet and well-being.
Eh.
And then, you turn the page, and that exact same paragraph is written again,
Yeah.
over and over.
It's intense. It forces this complete psychological shift for anyone reading it. I mean, you aren't hunting for novel information or the latest fad here.
Right, you're not scanning for bullet points.
Exactly. You're being asked to just sit with and truly internalize one specific fundamental truth about human biology.
Exactly. And so our mission today is to really deconstruct this nutritional mantra. We're going to slow down and examine exactly how this source connects specific food properties to long-term human wellness.
Because it really is a blueprint.
It is, but I mean, it reads almost like a meditation or a chant. Are we supposed to just read it or repeat it in the mirror every morning to manifest good health?
I mean, maybe that wouldn't hurt.
Right. The author literally loops the same exact sequence of sentences, just repeating the core message that nutrient-rich whole foods support wellness again and again and again.
Yeah, and it does feel like a mantra, but if we look past that stylistic repetition, what we actually have here is an incredibly focused blueprint for wellness.
Right.
The author is using that repetition as a deliberate constraint. By limiting the text, they are forcing us to focus on the interplay of a few specific variables rather than getting lost in the noise of modern nutrition.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can understand the major benefits promised right there in the title, the energy and immunity, we first have to understand the building blocks the source identifies.
Right, foundation.
Exactly. The text explicitly states that nutrient-rich whole foods support wellness through 4 exact pathways: vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber.
The core 4.
But then it just stops there. It doesn't list specific chemical compounds.
Yeah.
And we know from our previous deep dives that the supplement industry loves to isolate these things.
Oh, they thrive on it.
Right. They sell you isolated vitamin C, isolated magnesium, isolated fiber powder. But this text binds them all strictly to the concept of the whole food. So, is it best to think of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber like the 4 wheels of a car? Like if you're missing one, the whole food vehicle isn't going to get you to your destination of wellness.
That's a great way to look at it. And what's fascinating here is that the text deliberately elevates these overarching categories to highlight the concept of the food matrix.
Viewed matrix.
Right. Rather than engaging in reductionist science, reductionism is exactly what you just described, The idea that if vitamin C is good, well, extracting it in a lab and putting it in a pill must be just as good, or even better.
Right, like hacking the system.
Exactly. But this source argues that a food must be whole, and it must deliver a combination of these 4 elements simultaneously to truly support overall wellness.
Right, because isolated nutrients often behave completely differently in the body than they do when they are consumed in their original biological packaging.
Absolutely.
So if vitamins are like the spark plugs igniting our cellular metabolism and minerals are the structural foundation, how does the source view the relationship between them and, say, fiber? Like if I just take a multivitamin with a big glass of water, what am I actually missing?
You're missing the delivery system
Right.
and the biochemical contact.
The delivery system, okay.
Yeah. In nature, these 4 categories never exist in a vacuum. A sweet potato doesn't just have an arbitrary collection of vitamins. It has this complex, 3-dimensional architectural matrix.
A matrix of fiber. Right.
Exactly. The fiber isn't just roughage passing through you. Structurally, it traps the sugars and the vitamins. During digestion, the fiber physically slows down the enzymatic breakdown of the food in your gut.
So instead of this metaphorical flash flood of nutrients just hitting your bloodstream all at once, which, your body usually just flushes out anyway,
Yeah.
the fiber acts more like a drip irrigation system for your cells.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. It's essentially a biological timed release capsule.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Without the fiber, the vitamins and sugars just spike your blood glucose. That causes an insulin surge that actually demands more energy to process.
Which gives you that massive energy crash a few hours later.
Precisely. But with the fiber intact, as the text insists upon by explicitly using the term whole foods, you get a steady, prolonged drip of nourishment.
Okay, that makes total sense for fiber.
Okay.
But what about the antioxidants? Because, usually we just hear antioxidants prevent aging, which always feels a bit like a marketing cliche.
Oh, it totally is a marketing cliche.
Right. So how do they functionally interact with the vitamins, minerals, and fiber inside this whole food matrix the author is so relentlessly focused on?
Well, this is where the synergy gets truly elegant. The process of digestion itself, the mechanical and chemical breakdown of food, is actually biologically stressful.
Right, lots of acid and churning.
Exactly. It generates free radicals right there in your gastrointestinal tract. So if you just take an isolated mineral supplement, it can actually oxidize during digestion before it ever even reaches your bloodstream.
Wait, really? It just degrades in your stomach?
Yeah. But in a whole food, the antioxidants are physically bound to the fiber alongside the minerals.
Okay.
They act as local rust-proofing, essentially.
Yeah.
They neutralize those free radicals in real time. This protects the minerals and vitamins as they travel through that incredibly harsh environment of your stomach acid and your intestines.
Wow, okay. That distinction fundamentally changes how you read this text. The author isn't just listing 4 random things that happen to be in a sweet potato.
Not at all.
They are describing an interdependent biological machine. Like, the whole food itself is the technology.
Yeah.
You can't just hack your way to wellness by isolating these 4 things into powders and mixing them in a shaker bottle.
Precisely. And that's why the text is repeating this idea. It's trying to drill into our heads that wellness isn't some chemistry experiment where you just dump inputs into a beaker.
Right.
The human body requires the entire symphony of compounds interacting with each other in the precise ratios that nature originally designed.
Okay, but even if you perfectly optimize those 4 nutrients, the author introduces this massive caveat.
Yes, the timing.
Right. If you eat them at the wrong time of year, they might not work optimally.
Yeah.
So we've established what is in the food. But now, the source material pivots to a really crucial condition for when and why we eat them.
And this is the environmental condition of the blueprint.
Yeah.
It is arguably the most radical part of the entire document.
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. The text explicitly links the titular sweet potatoes and seasonal produce in general directly to 4 major life outcomes: supporting energy, immunity, heart health, and healthy living.
Right.
But I have to push back a little here on behalf of the listener.
Sure, go for it.
The author is claiming we need seasonal produce for these specific benefits. But if I'm eating, say, a nutrient-dense, hothouse-grown tomato in December, or maybe a sweet potato flown in from the equator in the middle of spring, I mean, chemically, it still has vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber.
On paper, yes.
Right. So why is the author pretending a winter squash is somehow magically better just because it happens to be cold outside when I eat it?
That is the exact question modern agriculture asks us, but it completely misses the evolutionary biology at play here.
How so?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the author isn't talking about arbitrary calendar dates. They aren't just looking at a calendar, they are talking about biological adaptation. Plants actually produce entirely different phytochemicals based on the environmental stress they are experiencing at the time. This concept is called xenohormesis.
Xenohormesis.
Yeah.
Meaning we somehow benefit from the stress that the plant went through.
Exactly. When an autumn root vegetable, like our sweet potato, is growing as the days get shorter and the temperature drops, it literally senses the impending winter.
Right. It knows it's about to freeze.
Yes. And to survive that freeze, the plant alters its own internal chemistry. It radically thickens its cell walls.
Which means what for us?
It means denser, much more complex dietary fiber. It also stockpiles specific heavy-duty antioxidants to protect its own cellular structure from frost damage.
So the plant is basically putting on its biochemical winter coat.
Yes, that's exactly it. And when you consume that seasonal produce, you are ingesting that specific biochemical winter readiness.
Wow.
A hothouse tomato grown in a perfectly climate-controlled environment in December, it has never experienced environmental stress.
Right. It lived a very comfortable life.
Exactly. It hasn't produced the same dense array of protective secondary metabolites because it just didn't need to. I mean, it might have basic vitamin C, sure, but it completely lacks the complex defensive matrix of a plant that literally fought to survive an autumn frost.
That completely flips the script on how we view the produce aisle. But how does that plant's winter coat translate into human immunity and heart health? Because the text explicitly promises those things.
It promises them because human biology is also seasonal, even if we try to ignore it with our artificial lighting and central heating.
Right, we pretend it's summer all year round indoors.
We do. But our gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria that effectively control our immune system, literally shifts its composition as the seasons change.
Wait, really? The bacteria change?
Yes. The specific strains of bacteria that dominate your gut in the winter require entirely different types of fiber to thrive than the summer strains do.
Oh, wow. So by eating the sweet potato in autumn, you are specifically feeding the winter-adapted bacteria in your gut.
Exactly. The dense cold weather fiber of the sweet potato feeds the specific microbial populations that are responsible for bolstering your immune defenses right when viral loads in the environment are at their highest.
That is mind-blowing.
And furthermore, let's look at the heart health claim the text makes.
Right. Cardiovascular support.
In the colder months, human blood vessels naturally constrict to conserve body heat.
Okay, makes sense.
But this increases blood pressure and puts significantly more mechanical stress on your cardiovascular system.
Which means the system requires more structural support and protection during winter.
Right. And what does the seasonal sweet potato happen to be absolutely packed with? High levels of potassium to help regulate that blood pressure, and specific antioxidants to protect the endothelial lining of those newly stressed blood vessels.
So it's not a coincidence.
Not at all. The harmony the text points to isn't just poetry, it's an evolutionary lock and key. The Earth produces a specific nutritional profile precisely when the human body requires that exact profile to maintain homeostasis.
Man, so if you are eating a sweet potato that has been sitting in a cold storage warehouse for 8 months, or that hothouse tomato in December, you are completely breaking that seasonal contract.
You are.
You might still get some basic calories out of it, but you are out of sync with the environmental rhythm that the text claims is responsible for optimal heart health and robust immunity. Basically, you are feeding your body summer instructions while it's trying to do winter work.
Exactly. You're disrupting the synergy. You are giving your immune system the wrong building materials for the current environmental demands.
Okay, so we now understand the molecular building blocks, the whole food matrix of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber.
Right.
And we've uncovered the evolutionary biology behind the seasonal timing required to actually maximize them.
The xenohormesis.
Exactly. So the final piece of the sources puzzle, really the closing thought of the whole mantra, is the behavioral application.
Because knowing the biochemistry and the evolutionary history means absolutely nothing if you don't execute it.
Right. And the source's concluding mandate is remarkably direct here. It just states, consistent nutritious eating creates lasting benefits.
Simple but profound.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I mean, we live in this era of nutritional biohacking, right? People want an immediate fix.
Oh, everyone wants a shortcut.
They want a shot of concentrated ginger and turmeric to instantly cure a cold, or like an IV drip of vitamins, to instantly give them limitless energy for the day. But this text rejects that entirely.
It completely rejects it. And I think this raises an incredibly important question about how we view human tissue.
Okay, how so?
Well, we tend to think of our bodies as machines that just need the right fuel to run for the day, like a car. If you are tired, you pour in a stimulant. If you are sick, you pour in a medicine.
Right, input equals immediate output.
Exactly. But the text uses a very specific verb here. It says consistent eating creates lasting benefits.
It creates them. It builds them. It doesn't just, reveal them instantly.
Precisely. It is a cumulative structural process. I mean, think about the cellular turnover in your body. Your red blood cells regenerate roughly every 120 days.
Okay.
And the endothelial cells lining your blood vessels, the ones crucial for the heart health that the text mentions, they are constantly dying off and being replaced.
So when the text talks about creating lasting benefits, it's quite literally talking about the physical reconstruction of your body over time.
Yes. You do not build a resilient cardiovascular system or a robust immune defense with a single seasonal meal, because those tissues take months to turn over.
Right.
If you eat a perfectly seasonal, nutrient-dense sweet potato on a Tuesday, well, you've provided excellent building materials for the few cells that happen to be replicating that specific day.
But what about Wednesday? What about next month?
Exactly. If you go back to eating heavily processed, out-of-season food on Wednesday, your body has to build the next batch of cells out of suboptimal materials.
It's like trying to build a brick house, but every third day the contractors only have access to styrofoam and mud.
That's the exact biological reality. The lasting benefits the author promises are the result of entire organ systems physically rebuilding themselves using optimal, seasonally appropriate materials day after day.
That makes total sense. It really is like the difference between day trading and long-term investing.
That's a great analogy.
Like a day trader in the stock market might get a quick spike in capital, just like a biohacker might get a quick spike in energy from a supplement. But the person who steadily invests in their 401k, applying the exact same solid principles week after week, they're the one who achieves structural, lasting security.
Right. And the format of the document itself completely mirrors this philosophy, if you think about it.
Oh, that's true. We joked at the beginning that it was like a chant, just repeating its message over and over.
But the repetition is the message.
Right.
The document doesn't bounce around from fad to fad. It doesn't get distracted by a new superfood halfway down the page. It just delivers the exact same fundamental truth over and over again, because that is exactly what it is asking you to do with your cellular building blocks.
It's demonstrating consistency through the very act of reading. Like you read the blueprint and then you read it again and again until it basically becomes second nature.
It strips away all the anxiety of choice. It forces you to confront the reality that health is a daily practice. It's not a destination you just magically arrive at after a 30-day cleanse.
It really is incredibly refreshing. I feel like we spend so much time overcomplicating our plates, tracking microscopic macros, stressing over the latest contradictory study on social media.
It's exhausting.
It is. But this deep dive really pulls us back to an absolute biological foundation. Let's quickly summarize the overarching formula we've extracted from this text today.
It really does boil down to an elegant equation.
It does. So for everyone listening, you start with nutrient-rich whole foods, which means utilizing the unisolated food matrix of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber, all working in synergy.
Right?
Then you multiply that by seasonal alignment, choosing foods like the sweet potato that have environmentally adapted to the specific seasonal stress your body is currently facing.
The winter coat.
Exactly. And finally, you power that whole equation with consistent eating to allow for total cellular turnover, and the result of that equation: lasting energy, robust immunity, and resilient heart health.
It's a remarkably simple, fluff-free framework for cutting through all the diet confusion out there.
Yeah.
If you ever feel overwhelmed by the thousands of choices in a modern grocery store, you don't need a biology degree to figure it out. You just need to run your choices through this filter. Is it a whole food matrix? Is it naturally in season? And am I doing this consistently?
But, as always, unpacking a highly concentrated text like this leaves us with some heavier, broader implications for how we actually live our lives today.
It certainly does. I mean, if we accept the source's biological premises that xenohermesis, seasonal microbiome shifts, and consistent tissue remodeling are all non-negotiable requirements for creating these lasting benefits, we really have to look very critically at our modern environment.
Right, because the modern grocery store is essentially a time machine.
It really is.
Yeah. It allows us to day trade out-of-season produce whenever we want. We have the absolute luxury to consistently eat foods that have completely circumvented the environmental stresses that make them nutritious in the first place.
And that raises a profound question. How might our modern convenience culture be secretly sabotaging the very biological systems we are trying so desperately to protect?
Wow. By eliminating the seasonal stress from our food supply, are we accidentally eliminating our own immune resilience?
Oh, exactly.
If the 401k of our health requires seasonal structural consistency, it's almost as if we've engineered a society that makes the optimal path the absolute hardest one to follow.
We have endless variety, but we've completely lost the biological rhythm.
Yeah. The answer to superhuman immunity wasn't wooden in a labyrinth of complex data. It was just one simple ancestral truth repeated over and over again. Maybe the hardest part of health isn't discovering the secret. Maybe the hardest part is just having the discipline to ignore the noise and simply repeat the foundation day after day, season after season, something to chew on next time you're standing in the produce aisle.